Hello everyone and welcome back to my main playthrough of the Shadowlands in World of Warcraft as my Death Knight here. It is a new week, new stuff has been added, and we will be getting to the next chapter in the Covenant campaign for the Necrolords later, probably in the next video, which I have unlocked, having now done the weekly thing of go save souls from the maw and go get 1,000 anima. I've done that, set up. However, before we do that, I had this thought, because Bolvar had something new for me. He said to me, "Using the totem that you have recovered, I will alter the attuned shard to guide you to Thrall's location. Take care. You know the torments Bane and Lady Proudmoore endured in that accursed place. Thrall's confinement will be no less harrowing. Beware, the deeper you journey into the Tower of the Damned, the closer you get to the jailer himself. Free Thrall before all hope is lost." And I started thinking, okay, we could do the next chapter of the Covenant campaign, but in the meantime, Thrall is getting tortured. So I don't know about you, but I want to get Thrall. Anyways, Thrall's my boy. Okay, I love Thrall. Okay, you know, he's my bro, and I want to get him out of here before we continue with the campaign of the Necrolords. I know that you know, like the Kyrians are waiting for me back in Maldraxxus, but we got to get Thrall out of here. This is a very unpleasant place to be stuck in. So let's get in here and save Thrall first and foremost. And since this is probably the you know, the toned down version of Torghast, this is not exactly like a layer 6 or higher.
Each time I gaze into Torghast, I sense malevolent eyes staring back. The risk grows ever greater, but we cannot relent.
I know, Bolvar. I know. So, because of that, normally I would have gone to, you know, switching to Blood, but I think we're just going to go ahead and just stick with Unholy this time, since right now I'm doing pretty well with Unholy in terms of damage. Plus, as you can see, I've gotten myself up to 192. So, yeah. Doing pretty good at the moment on gear, though I know there's, you know, much better gear that you can get, because I'm saying that with some 184s, 187s, when I, you know, should be trying to get 200s or higher, but you know how it is. Gear is not easy to get right now in this expansion. People are talking about how it feels extremely unrewarding. Right now, I've heard people say that they've done, like, double-digit runs of dungeons. Like, I heard someone say they did, like, 50-plus runs of Mythic Plus, and they got hardly any gear, like one piece of gear or something. Maybe they were exaggerating, but they were trying to make a point that that is what it's like right now when it comes to the gear dropping. It doesn't feel rewarding when it finally drops. It feels incredibly frustrating, an incredible chore. Like, the other day, I did the same dungeon like 4 or 5 times, farming for one thing, and I couldn't get anything dropped for me. So I just gave up and I went to the auction house and got a BOE. That's kind of what it feels like right now. That you feel like you have to resort to going to the auction house and getting BOEs instead of just trying to get it to drop, because it's so incredibly unrewarding to try and get it to drop. I'm really hoping Blizz fixes this, because otherwise you're not going to have people have this sense of, you know, accomplishment or reward that some people are saying that you're trying to, that's supposed to be part of the point here. Not when there's a ton of frustration and people are going to be like, I don't want to do this, you know? Because they're doing this so many times and they get nothing out of it, then what's the point? You're just wasting your time at that point. Alright. Not too fond of that talent, but yeah, sure.
It's too far away.
Yeah. This is what I like about these toned-down story versions of Torghast, because you can tell these are much like squishier and quicker to, and easier to take down than, let's say, if I was doing a regular Torghast run, because I would be struggling quite a bit trying to take these guys down. Or at least they would be hitting me for a lot more, you know. I would not be like, I'm going to pull everything in this room and not care. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pull this one guy, and then I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to pull this one guy, and then I'm going to wait, you know.
I need it.
That's how it usually feels when you're in Torghast. You want to take this as slow as possible, taking it, you know, one enemy per time. Because if you pull everything in the room, you die. Especially when you're soloing. Now, I've found that if I'm able to get into a group, it's actually pretty fun. I was in a group where we did like a 6, and we blazed through it. It was a lot of fun. One of the only issues, though, is that, similar to what I was saying before, Torghast doesn't really feel all that rewarding to do. Because you do the 1 or 2 runs of it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm done with it for the entire week. And it's fun, but it's like, okay, you know, I would kind of like to get a little bit more out of it. I don't know, a little bit, like, if I'm able to pull off a 7 or 8, I'd like to get something pretty nice out of it other than just a bit of Soul Ash. Especially when, if you're already set on your 1 legendary, you feel like, well, what am I getting this Soul Ash for if I can only have 1 legendary right now? Now, maybe it's going to pay off later. Maybe later on, it's like, when they make it where you can equip more than 1 legendary, then it's going to be like, aha, it's a good thing I farmed all those Soul Ash. But at the same time, it's like, you know, how we have no idea when that's going to be. For all we know, that could be months from now.
It's too far away.
Like, there's really no, like, set plan on what's happening going forward, at least one that has been conferred to us. Maybe Blizz does know their plan, but they have not really made it clear to us. I mean, I can kind of understand that. That's what they sort of did with, like, just most recent example, BFA. You know, when they were announcing the content for patch 8.3. You know, that wasn't told to us along, you know, ahead of time a lot, very much before it came out. That was like, hey, this patch is coming out soon, and it was like, guess what, it's gonna have this stuff, and we were like, oh, okay. We didn't really get to check it out or test it out like we did with this expansion and all that, but I don't know. It just feels like if we had a better idea of, like, where certain things were going to be going when it's coming out, we'd be able to actually, like, get an idea of, okay, so if, say, this is going to be happening in a handful of months in a, you know, a minor patch. It doesn't even have to be a big patch, just a small patch. Then we could be like, okay, so I could try and start working towards this because I know it's going to be handy later on. Like, if I know, like, they're going to increase the amount of legendaries you can be able to equip and such in, say, a month or 2, then it'll be like, okay, now I have a reason to farm this Soul Ash. I have a goal, because by this time, I'll be able to actually use it to make and equip another. You know, something like that. But if there's really no, like, idea or plan or announcement for that, then it's like, okay, if I don't know what's coming or when it's coming, then I don't really feel like a sense of, like, all right, I'm going to do this and this and this. I like having a sense of, you know, a direction in this regard. You know, I'm not much of a sandbox guy. You know, I know that for some people, they much rather prefer the sandbox thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just not something for me. You know, it's like, you know, with the MMO thing. A lot of people love the old school style of MMOs where it was all just player-generated content. Very, what we call as sandbox. And then there was the developer-generated content. The stuff that the developers would make and then we would get to mess around with. Like what you see here. This is not player-generated content. This is stuff made by the devs for us to be able to have fun with and enjoy. And I like it this way. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying the other way is bad or wrong. This is just what I prefer. As opposed to, I'm going to go out into some open area and find some other players and just do something, you know, whatever we can think of. And I'm just like, that's not really the kind of thing that I feel like I could enjoy personally. Again, it's only a personal thing. It's not a, you know, good, bad, right, wrong. It's just mainly a preference thing. Ooh. Spell Eater. I like these ones where I can get an extra talent. Okay. Let's get Wraith Walk. Get rid of that for now. I always like those where it's like, hey, you get an extra talent. That gets really fun on certain... I say certain classes, having only done this with 2 classes so far. But like, when I've done this, either on my Death Knight or on my Demon Hunter, being able to get some of those extra talents and just be able to like see how some of them go. Like, I've gotten to actually mess with talents I've never messed with before, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I've looked up some of the, you know, other ones that you can be able to use with either other classes, other covenants, other specs. Because there's a whole list of them. You can look them all up basically on, like, Wowhead, for example. Some of them are pretty interesting. But again, going back to what I was saying earlier, part of the issue that's going on right now is that people... They may enjoy this, but they feel like there's not much of a actual like point to it right now. There's not really a good sense of reward for actually doing all this other than just getting either a legendary recipe that you gotta do a specific wing to get, or Soul Ash. And the legendary system is, you know, I'm one of those who likes it, but at the same time it's like, you know, I'm collecting this stuff, but I kind of feel like I need a reason for it, you know? Like, because I've already made 2 legendaries on this character. Now, if you tell me that I can be able to, at some point soon, be able to get what I need to actually upgrade it or equip another, you know, then it's like, okay, now I have a bit more motivation to do this. Now, one of the things that I heard that they were trying to get away from was what people were complaining about back in BFA was that rather than it feeling like it was fun, optional content, it felt mandatory. It felt like you had to do this, even if you didn't want to, because it was, you know, something that you need to do in order to get something, in order to be able to do this, and, you know, it was like a checklist, and people didn't like that. Or it was like, okay, I've done all that stuff, and now I feel I got nothing to do, or that I'm bored. So then they try and come up with a system to be able to kind of like do that, and then other problems come up. And, you know, it's going to go back to that one of those old things where you can't please everybody. No matter what you do, you can't have everybody be entirely happy about how it's done. Some people are always going to dislike it. That's just how it is. This is why I've been one of those who have been saying that Blizz needs to stop caring so much about player feedback when so much of the player base will just want to whine and complain about whatever they do. No matter what they do, there are always going to be people that will hate it and tell them they're terrible. They cannot always be focusing on that, because it's going to happen no matter what. It's inevitable. And in historical context, listening to that feedback has actually led to what some consider to be bad decisions. One of the biggest examples of this is listening to the feedback from those who complained about the likes of, say, Cataclysm, led to what they did in Warlords of Draenor. one of the reasons why the whole time travel alternate dimension thing happened in Warlords was because what Blizz originally wanted to do, they wanted to revamp Outland like how they did the old world. They want to revamp Outland to a more modern version to have this storyline where Garrosh was going to go back to Outland, where we found him in Burning Crusade, go back to Nagrand, and rally the Mag'har orcs there, and have the similar storyline to what we had in Warlords. But because of the player complaining and all that from Cataclysm, Blizz told themselves they would never do something like that again. But they still want to pursue this storyline. So in order to try and still get both, that's where they came up with the time-traveling alternate dimensions storyline. Which, in my opinion, was a big mistake on their part, even though there were some things about that I did like, or I think they did well. But still, when you enter this whole alternate dimension time travel thing, that is where things get weird. Because as, you know, people will probably tell you, some of the things that were in there that they said basically were a contradiction amongst themselves. You know, like the whole, you know, there being an alternate Velen, but not an alternate killed Jaden, and it was a mess. Similar to Burning Crusade, it's a mess. Yeah, let's do that. The flesh rats make my shield even stronger! Oh, now this is just... That's just sadistic at that point. Oh, ow, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. It's okay, I have the well-fed where I'm healing. What?
All that matters is we now possess the necessary instrument. We must begin its preparation.
Leave him to me. You've seen what he is capable of when he believes in the cause. A measure of patience may yield superior results.
Very well. We have our weapon. Now, we shall hone it.
Gee, it's a good thing the jailer can't detect the Death Knight nearby. You would think someone who was one of the main presences in the helm of domination could be able to be like, wait a minute, I sense an undead nearby. The Lich King, if I was nearby, the Lich King would have been like, I sense you nearby around the wall. Why you hide? You know, you can come out. I'm just saying. I'm a little disappointed that the jailer apparently is so either distracted by Sylvanas talking to him that he can't sense me, or that he's just somehow not capable of sensing me nearby. I'm just saying. Also, yeah, that was a cool little cutscene about what's going on right now involving Sylvanas and Anduin. Now, I've been referring to a cutscene that involves Anduin and Sylvanas. That was not it, because obviously Anduin was not part of that cutscene there. But it has to do with that. You got an idea of what Sylvanas is actually doing here. She wants to try to actually convince Anduin to believe in their cause. Why they're doing this. She wants to persuade him to their way of thinking. She wants to actually convince Anduin that what they're doing is right, and she wants him to kind of like join them. Also, apparently the broker is just chilling here. He's right there. The broker's just chilling here, and he was just like, oh, hello, Jailer and Sylvanas. Apparently they have no problem with the brokers being here. I don't know if that's an actual thing or if that's just a complete mistake on Blizzard's part, but to me, I would go, okay, why are the Jailer and Sylvanas just completely cool with the brokers being here? Why? Ow! I hate those things. Oh. I totally forgot to free that guy. But it's interesting that apparently Anduin is somehow the weapon or instrument that they need in order to accomplish their plan. I'm not really sure I understand why that is. Then again, we don't necessarily know what their entire actual plan is. Because it seemed like the moment he saw Anduin do his, big shield of light thing back at the beginning of this expansion, which, we remember seeing him back in the BFA cinematic, that was when he was like, huh, okay, you have what I need. So therefore, I'm going to make sure you are the one that I capture along with your friends, but I'm going to make sure you are specially taken care of.
Everything is negotiable.
Alright. Ooh. Reduce the cooldown of Army of the Dead. Sure.
Until our next transaction.
Ooh, another shield from Looting Phantasma. Well, I'm hoping that when I do this, when I finish this run, that I get the other cutscene that I've been talking about. Because I still don't know where it triggers. Now I shall see which ones carry anima powers on them. I am shrouded. You are shrouded. Be wary. What? Hey! No. Chains of ice, you get back here. Oh yeah, this room. Yeah, I've seen this room in other runs. Oh, this room is not fun. Of course, avoiding these things. Ow!
Far away.
Those things, they hurt so much. Oh, of course, this is the fun part. You're trying to run to go do these things, and these things will just bombard you constantly. Ah! I love the talent there. It's like, hey, every time you kill one of these mall rats, you increase your health. I'm like, that sounds awesome. Just seek out mall rats, kill, kill, kill. Ooh, during Dark Transformation, you're yes. Now, of course, as you saw, that can apply to either Pillars of Frost or even Vampiric Blood. Ow! By the way, on my Demon Hunter, that applies when I use Metamorphosis. So all of a sudden, I look like how Illidan does when he does the, Demon Within phase in the Black Temple fight. When he gets all big and huge, and he's like, behold the power of the demon within. Get him, my ghoul. Stop. Go. Red light. Green light. That's what this feels like. Oh, red light. Green light. Ah! Oh, come on. Alright. Shield. get another rune for my weapon. Yes. So exciting to watch, isn't it? I'm sure you guys are just having a blast just watching me just very slowly and patiently going through this area. Trying to avoid getting hit by these things. Getting the stuff before I face this guy. By the way, I love that you can save all your, you know, just pop all your cooldowns against this guy at the end, because all of these cooldowns reset when you go to the next floor. So you can just unload on him. It's great. Chains of Ice binds enemies' health together, causing them to share damage taken. Sacrificial Pack's damage is increased, has no cooldown. A Raised Edge cooldown is reduced. Yeah, Sacrificial Pact. I hardly ever use that. At all. Let's go with the Chains of Ice then. I'd rather get the powers where it's like, hey, you get this talent. Because there's some other really great talents for Unholy here. Like, give me this talent here, you know. Or give me, you know, some of these other talents. Oh, gosh. Ah! Holy mackerel. Alright, hold on 1 second, guys. Alright. Just responding to a text. There we go. And now I get a big shield because of all that phantasm I just looted. Okay, maybe it's not that big a shield. But if you keep stacking that power, it can be a huge shield.
I'm out of range. It's too far away.
Slappy hands. Man, I love that ability.
I need to get closer.
Tell you what, having that in certain situations is so nice. Especially for some, like, you know, AoE or cleaving stuff. Like,
I'm out of range.
when we were, you know, the group that I raid with, when we were trying Sun King Salvation, one of the great things I was doing was, for a lot of the trash we need to kind of, like, get reeled in, I would use Slappy Hands, and even if they were trying to use Door of Shadows to get away, my Slappy Hands would be like, nope, get back in here. So great. Especially when we needed a lot of them to be pulled in and be able to be AoE'd and cleaved down. You know, for a moment I was like, funny I haven't seen any of the other people from the zones that are in here. And then I remind myself, oh yeah, that's right, because this is a story version of Torghast. This is not a regular version of Torghast. Like I said earlier. Join me. Get over here. All right. 15% for 1 minute. It stacks twice. Sure. Maybe it'll be handy in the next fight. If there is a next fight. There usually isn't a big fight here.
Have you lost your way? A darkness looming.
An intrusion into my domain.
Uh-oh.
Be on guard. He senses us.
There's the broker. Thrall!
For you, I offer only the finest.
It better be the finest. I have a friend up there that I need to save. Ooh, that'll be a nice little fail-safe there. And we'll do that. That's fine.
Remember, everything has value.
Alright. Arc Tyrant Zerios. Hang on, Thrall. I'll get you out of here in just a moment.
Elements, hear me. Give me the strength to...
If I'm not mistaken, that's the first time I've seen Thrall actually use the elements since Legion. Because he never did that in BFA, and I thought he was done being a shaman. Maybe not. Maybe there actually is still a bit of a connection to the elements left in him. Maybe he's not entirely done being a shaman after all.
At last, the torment is over. I've had enough of this place. Let's go.
Couldn't agree with you more, Thrall. Let's get you back to Oribos.
The Maw. I remember. You escaped the jailer. Yes. It's becoming clearer now. The Waystone. Our path out of here.
Yep.
I have seen only the darkest reaches of the Shadowlands. It is good to know there are places. May the spirits of my ancestors be safe, in realms of comfort and peace.
Ooh, you know what? There we go. Now we match more, Thrall. I want that mount really bad. Three down. One to go.
We will face whatever comes.
You have braved torments beyond most mortals' understanding. Well done indeed.
Fight for Azeroth.
My friends! Thrall, praise the Earth Mother. I am glad of your return, brother.
It is a relief to have you back, Thrall. I will send word to Agra and the Regent Lord at once.
I feared the worst. Bane and I both know the horrors that the jailer inflicted.
The things I saw in that place. The torments I endured.
Are best not relived. At least, not now.
Thromka.
After so many hard battles and wars for life, it is interesting to have so many questions answered about what happens after. Yeah, and yet we still have plenty of other questions that have not been answered, Thrall. By the way, I did the quest where we saved Jaina on my Demon Hunter on the Alliance, and yeah, she does see something differently, like she refers to you as a fellow ally or something like that, something very friendly, instead of the perceived hostility or enemy as she referred to this character, you know. Just something a little interesting to point out. Alright, so now that Thrall is out of Torghast and no longer being tortured, now we can head back to Maldraxxus and see what's going on with the Necrolords and the Kyrians, and continue the Covenant campaign from there. Stay tuned.